You try to read, but your mind drifts. You sit down to work, but your leg bounces. You try to exist quietly in an empty room, and within seconds, the urge to check your screen becomes an overwhelming physical sensation. We usually mistake this buzzing restlessness for a personal failure, but it functions as an engineered symptom. You are addicted to the exact mechanisms keeping you trapped. For decades, society worried about a specific kind of dystopian future. We pictured a world built on the ideas of the author George Orwell, a society where you are watched, punished, and kept in line through state-sanctioned violence and fear. But while we were looking out for Big Brother, we walked right into a completely different trap. The writer Aldous Huxley saw a society where no one is forced to comply. Instead, they are controlled entirely by an endless, inescapable supply of entertainment. Extreme comfort creates a perfect cage, one where the prisoner eventually falls in love with their own confinement. In Huxley's novel Brave New World, the state does not need secret police. They distribute a daily drug called Soma. It is handed out freely to keep the citizens entirely numb, perpetually satisfied, and blissfully unaware of their lost autonomy. We do not take a physical pill. We pull a glowing rectangle from our pockets. Short-form videos, an infinite feed of posts, and hyper-palatable digital content deliver the exact same effect. Any moment of downtime is instantly filled. Waiting in line, riding the bus, or waiting for water to boil is now accompanied by a relentless stream of digital stimulation. Boredom has been systematically engineered out of daily human existence. We treat this constant access to distraction as a harmless modern convenience. We think we are simply saving ourselves from a few minutes of dullness while we wait. But a completely occupied mind is a static mind. By removing even the slightest lull in our day, we have paved over the exact mental quiet required to actually process information and think for ourselves. This diagram shows the mechanical cycle driving our behavior. Every time you swipe your thumb across the screen, your brain receives a tiny, unearned burst of dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical messenger in the brain that rewards us for taking action. The loop starts, the reward hits, and the system resets, demanding another swipe. As this cycle repeats hundreds of times a day, your brain physically adapts. The baseline for satisfaction goes up, and the space between those necessary hits gets significantly shorter. This creates a state of mental atrophy. Your mind forgets how to function without an immediate reward. This explains why sitting down to read a book or complete a difficult project suddenly feels agonizing. When a task requires sustained effort and does not offer a prize every 10 seconds, your chemically trained brain hits a wall of severe friction. Opening social media to escape a difficult task is a trained neurological response, distinct from any personal character flaw. You are reacting to a learned discomfort. This reveals the mechanical advantage of a system built on instant gratification. A population controlled by fear will eventually find a reason to resist. A population controlled by pleasure will happily ask for more. Watch how fast it happens. The instant a conversation stalls or the room goes quiet, muscle memory takes over. The hand reaches into the pocket before the conscious mind even realizes what it is doing. We treat that silence as a threat, but it is actually a biological necessity. Unstructured, quiet time is the only environment where the brain can fully digest information, connect disparate ideas, and build deep focus. Consuming a feed takes massive amounts of neurological energy, yet leaves you entirely passive. Processing complex problems requires a low-input environment, demanding that you actively engage with your own thoughts. We carry these devices everywhere, convinced that unlimited access gives us ultimate freedom. In reality, that constant connection acts as a behavioral leash, aggressively pulling us back the moment we try to wander. The true test of resilience is not whether we can overthrow a dictator. It is whether we can sit alone in an empty room for 10 minutes without losing our minds. Escaping this cycle requires a direct intervention. You cannot think your way out of a dopamine addiction. You have to actively starve it by doing the exact opposite of what your exhausted brain is begging for. The practice is called strategic deprivation. It requires looking at your schedule and intentionally blocking out time for absolute uninterrupted boredom. No inputs, no music, no screens. When you first put the device away, it will physically hurt. Your heart rate might climb. You will feel anxious, convinced you are missing something important, and you might even feel phantom buzzes against your leg. That acute mental panic is a biological recalibration. It means the process is working. It is your nervous system fighting to repair its baseline, not a sign that you should give up and check your notifications. Willingly stepping into that temporary pain is the only functional way to snap the behavioral leash. You have to prove to your brain that you can survive the quiet. If you wait out the panic, something remarkable happens. The noise begins to settle. The urgent need for a distraction fades, and your brain finally accepts the emptiness of the room. Out of that stillness, a single independent idea forms. A thought that belongs entirely to you, unprompted by an algorithm, pierces the noise. True sovereignty rests in the supreme power to refuse a distraction that feels incredibly good in the moment. Endless stimulation without purpose is a perfect trap. Breaking that cycle requires learning to close your eyes, face the discomfort, and embrace the dark.